Welcome, everyone, to this special edition of the Daily BALM. And the Daily BALM is a monthly interview program that we have, and everything else is on recording, but once a month we have a live interview. And then starting next month, we're going to have 2 a month, which is pretty exciting, with different coaches leading the Daily BALM. So we have a very special beginning to this twice a month debut. Tonight, we're focusing on a very special project. Our 4 guests, and one of them is not here yet, but she will be, are creating a family recovery film to help families better understand what they are facing and how to help their loved one on the recovery journey. As their log line states, the family recovery documentary transforms outdated practices, empowering families on their recovery journey with compassionate, inspirational stories and expert insights. We are honored to host them as they are representing all of the family recovery ideas and stories and programs that, like the BALM, utilize and bring forward the practices that we know truly help families. And so I'd like to start by introducing Kathy Wren, who is the chair of this project. And Kathy is the founder and executive director of BALM Family Recovery, Inc., and a certified BALM family recovery coach and ICF life coach. And Shelley Young, executive director of the Chris Atwood Foundation, writer, speaker, and certified Arise interventionist with a private consultancy serving families and individuals in crisis. Welcome, Shelley. And Pam Lanhart, the founder and executive director of Thrive Family Recovery Resources, a certified family recovery coach, certified peer recovery specialist, invitation to change and craft practitioner, and Arise interventionist. Welcome. And finally, Jess Spade. Jeff is a film director, producer, and the founder of Raindance Productions, someone that you can't do a movie without. It's good to meet you, Jeff and Jess, and great to have you all here tonight. So this type of project is a long time coming. Kathy, how did this come about? How did this project come about?
So it came about in that when I was looking for, when I was going through this with our son, when he started experimenting at 15, and then we knew that we had a problem, I didn't know where to go for help. I didn't know, I often say we spent a lot of time and money trying to find help. And then we started going to a local family education program, and then also like Family Anonymous or Al-Anon. And I just found that I was leaving those situations wanting more, wanting to understand the disease more, wanting to understand that I was learning what I wasn't supposed to do, and I wanted to learn, what can I do? You're telling me that I can't do this, I can't do that, but what can I do? Because I wanted to take some action. I didn't want to like kick him out and let him figure it out. I wanted to be part of the solution. And so and that's, obviously I found the BALM, but I actually found the BALM through Shelley and Pam, because they did their series, where they had speakers come on, and I was actually one of the speakers, and it was Family RX was the name of the organization, and Bev was one of the speakers, and I listened to Bev, and I was like, okay, I want to learn more about the BALM so that I can help other families, because I'm all about like, give me tools, help me learn skills that can help my family heal, can help me find peace, and can help our loved one, things that I can contribute to help them.
That's beautiful. And you've certainly helped an awful lot of families
Oh,
over the
thank you.
years, Kathy.
Thank you.
And you've really been a vital member of the BALM community. Very appreciative.
Well, and so Pam and Shelley and we actually did a retreat together that Shelley organized. And we kind of, I can't remember if we brought up the movie then or if it was just this, but I know that I reached out to them within the last 3 to 5 years and said, we need to make a movie. And we were all on board, and then we got busy. And then I came across Jess on another project, and I actually taught Jess when I was a school teacher. And so we go way back, and his
Wow.
family and I go way back because I have a son in his son's class, so we started talking, and I was like, I really have this itch to make this movie. Would you be interested? So things just started happening. I believe, truly believe, for a reason. And I just feel like this is all coming together because it's supposed to. And I'm just so excited about this team that we have. And we want to share it so families know. We want to give families hope. We want to give families, again, see that there are tools and things that we can do instead of being told all the things that we can't do.
Absolutely. Wow, Kath. I'd love to ask Pam, Shelley, and Jess why this project is important to each of you and ask you to each speak to what you hope to accomplish with it. And we'll start with Shelley.
Thanks, Bev, and thanks, Kathy, for articulating that also well. This film is important to me because, one, because I've been there in the confusion and the isolation and the chaos, and we're not there anymore. We're in a much healthier, better place in recovery, and I think it's important to show that recovery is possible and you don't have to suffer. You can get to the other side. And what I really want families to know is that there's a way that works that keeps families intact, and that you don't have to wait for things to get worse and relationships become practically irreparable before going into action. And I mostly want people to know that there are people that know what to do. And like Kathy said, the most common question is, what do I do? And I want to make it so people can easily access what to do.
Beautiful. And how about you, Pam?
Yeah, thanks. And it's so great to see you, Bev, and it's so nice to be here. And you're having
Very
us
good to have you.
Yeah, it's been a minute. I think that one of the things that is happening all the time with the families that I work with is I know that my loved one needs recovery, but I didn't know that I needed recovery, or what does this recovery mean and how do we do it? And there's a lot of talk around recovery. And one of the things that I know in my own personal journey with our family was that I use the definition of recovery in the dictionary, which is a return to health and well-being, or reclaiming something that was lost. And when my son was very early on in his journey, we really lost a lot, and we lost relationships. Sometimes we lost our practices that were important to us. My husband and I had to constantly be intentional about our relationship as a husband and wife. And the siblings suffered as well. And then we, through a series of trial and error, kind of figured some things out. And I really wished that we would have known when my son was 13, 14, 15, what we figured out by the time he was 18, 19, and 20. I don't know that it would have made a huge difference. I think it may have, but I do know that one of the things that recovery did for me was allowed me to show up with intention and with authenticity, and become a safe person. And oftentimes we see families that have historical generational trauma, and they've been impacted by their parents' substance use. And that was our story. And so we brought a lot of really harmful things into our family that were activated when my son started using. And in my work, I always say, first, do no harm. And part of my heart is like to just help people not do harm, right? And to start there and then to move into, and now what? Now, how do I get well? And how do I really bring that relationship back into harmony, both with myself, with my spiritual practices, and with my loved one? And so this is an opportunity to, as Shelley said, create the roadmap. So it's not just what is recovery, but it's why is it important? How do we do it? And we're going to be showing some really positive stories about people that have been incredibly successful.
That's amazing. And I just love the way you each shared a different aspect of family recovery, which shows how broad and diverse the field is and the needs are. And Jess, you bring something special, of course. Could you share with us why this project is important to you and what you hope to accomplish with it?
Yeah, well, foremost, thank you so much for having us on. Really a pleasure. So Kathy mentioned we connected, or reconnected rather, on a project that I did about this time last year. And after the project was done, Kathy mentioned this documentary that her and a couple of her friends and colleagues had kind of been stewing on for a while. And it was in the family recovery world, in the recovery world, which is something that I, to be like perfectly candid, wasn't as familiar with. Really, I'd kind of come into filmmaking through sports and athletics, and it was a very, like, family recovery was very compelling at first glance. And the more I thought about it, I thought about my cousin Dan, and we grew up a very tight-knit bunch, and he's 5 years older than I am, and really looked up to him. And he went to college and just got on a really different path. And I just don't think that his family was equipped with like the healthy tools to lead like a loving and like healthy path to recovery. And I kind of just saw the family really just implode. And they don't spend time together anymore. I don't really see them at all much anymore. And I just kind of thought perhaps if there was some sort of hour and 20-minute resource that they could watch it, like literally just in one sitting, that could help them or help families lead a healthy path to recovery. So that's really what I hope that this project does. I know it will. It'll really equip families just with the tools to lead a loving and healthy path to recovery.
Beautiful. I'm inspired. So, Kathy, you sort of talked about this, but tell us more about how you found Jess and, what made that bond work.
Right. So I guess about a year ago, he came to me and said that he was helping a singer-songwriter with a music video. And so it ended up where BALM helped sponsor part of it, and then Illume, my nonprofit, helped sponsor part of it, and we helped make that happen. And Jess can talk more about, maybe what that was. But I mean, we did that project together, and I just had so much fun reconnecting with him and seeing the work that he was doing. And again, I had, kind of put this whole concept on the back burner thinking, okay, it's just never going to happen, and kind of petered out, my energy and everything. And then when he came to me, I'm like, okay, this is happening for a reason, and I'm going to jump on it. So, and I think it's just been so magical because Jess is, he's just so easy for us to work with. And he has, you talk about jumping in with both feet on this topic. He attended a workshop with me and a whole conference. And he just is like this sponge wanting to absorb everything family recovery related. So, and he has such a giving heart, and that's something too that we wanted to make sure that the people that we work with in this film not only understand the subject matter, but have a heart for it, and so, I think that's important for a producer and a cinematographer and, the people that the editor and so forth, to kind of have compassion and around recovery. So we're very lucky to have this team of 4 working on this project.
Beautiful. And Jess and Shelley, what's it like making a movie? I think that would be fun. Jess.
Well, I'm the novice
Oh,
at
yeah.
making the movies. I have, the small little projects that I've done were DIY, Pam and I. And so for me, it's something I've always wanted to do. And so I feel like the kind of kismet that Kathy's talking about, that I actually get to really do it because films have been so important in our family recovery. Certain films really changed my mind. But to speak to the more elaborate technical aspects of it, I think Jess is probably better to answer that part.
Yeah, well, I would just start by saying it's very exciting more than anything. It's very enjoyable too, and I think we've got a great team. I think we have a very well-rounded team more than anything. Like I think each one of us really offers something different. There are a lot of moving parts, a lot of components, a lot that we've done and a lot left to do, but I think we're on a great path, and I'm really excited to start filming here next month and kind of move and groove through the fall and have something finished by October, or November. So I can't wait, but exciting.
That's quick. Jess, when you made the comment before that you want something that's going to give families the tools in an hour and 20 minutes. So I wrote a book about recovery. Kathy, was that before you, or do you have a chapter in that book? I can't even remember. It was so long ago.
That was before me.
That was before you. So we have this book. A lot of people contributed to it. It's called BALM, The Loving Path to Family Recovery.
I read it. It's good.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. We've all read it. Yeah.
When I wrote that book, I thought, well, there are going to be people, this is all they're going to need is this book. And that's chapter 8, right? It takes what it takes. And for some people, I've had people come up to me on the street and said, I read your book, it changed my life. Nice to meet you. Bye. So this is realistic. You're going to change some lives just by seeing your movie. And then there are going to be people who need more than your movie. And I guess that's what we're going to hear more about as we go through this evening. And it's exciting. So Jess, what will the movie be about and how will you structure it?
So we'll follow three different families, kind of hearing about their journey, I guess, through recovery and to where they are now, and then also seeing their current endeavors. And it's really uplifting to see these families in recovery, but also like turning around and helping the communities around them, helping people that, might have been in their shoes just 5 years ago. So we kind of have the family side of it. We also have like an expert side of it where we'll be having on a few different subject matter experts to really talk about kind of like the paradigm shift in family recovery and what it looks like now. Like we've kind of been calling it more of like a modern family recovery, away from this tough love and into what it is now. And I think that is something that makes this documentary that much more exciting. Is it is something new and it really hasn't been done, and it is something that I think will really kind of help transform outdated practices.
That's beautiful. And yeah, this idea of following specific families, that in itself is transformative because you're seeing how their lives change, and it can give you so much hope for your life. It's beautiful. So how do you choose what will be in the movie, Pam?
Yeah, I was thinking about those 3 families, and what's so interesting is that they've all walked a different path to get to recovery. And I think when we thought about what do we want this to be, we understand that recovery is different for every family. So there's, this idea that no one size fits all, but people do end up getting there. And when Shelley and Kathy and we have different, Kathy used more of the BALM practices, and Shelley's just a guru when it comes to this ARISE comprehensive care model. And many of the things that I adopted came from her. And then I really delved into the craft and invitation to change approach, and that we use that quite a lot. But there's commonalities in all of those practices. And many of the commonalities are things like, how do we stay regulated so we can make decisions with intention? What are some of the tools and skills and equipping that across the board have helped these families? What are some ways that we collaboratively work together as a family to move through recovery in harmony rather than in separate bubbles? And I think that we looked at and did quite a few brainstorming sessions on what everybody's kind of ideology and philosophies are. And we pulled common things out, and those common things are also all rooted in kindness and compassion and empathy and love. And so this movie, one of the things that we hear often, I hear it with my community, I'm sure Kathy and Shelley do as well, which is these practices have given me permission to love my person. And that's really what we want to highlight, is the love and the hope that is there for every single family. And then, of course, like Jess said, really just moving from some of the old conditioning and old paradigms and some of the harmful stigma and shame into a place of here's how you can, I know you hear it all the time. Johan Hari says the opposite of addiction is connection. But connection is the opposite of what all for years families have been taught, right? For years families have been taught to detach, to disconnect, to, we see the language, just kick them out, just let go and let God. And some of these ideologies are ripping families apart. Right. And they're actually at times making things very much worse in the family system. And so we just want to create a pathway to that hope that is rooted in the practices of love and compassion.
That's beautiful. I tell this story that when Johan Hari said that, I started getting phone calls from all over the country. Does he do the BALM? It was like, no, it's not an original idea. A whole lot of us had the same ideas at the same time. And it is true that connection is the opposite of addiction. Isolation is just deadly.
I'll just add a really quick comment on that. Because I live in Minnesota, and we are not people think that Minnesota is the Mecca of recovery because we're in Hazelden's backyard, but I felt really intuitively found my path. And then I met Shelley, and then I met Kathy, and then and learned about what you're doing. And it was the coolest thing. It was like the mothership had dropped these little baby ships in different places all throughout the country. And we were finding each other through serendipitous, moments. And it was like, wow, there are other people in this universe that think the same thing that I think. And we want to bring this collaborative ideology together in a way that can be accessible to anyone. So people don't feel like if I love my person, I am doing something wrong and that they're alone, or they feel some sort of certain shame or blame because they can't do some of the things that they've been told that they have to do. So anyway, it is really fun, Bev, when you said that. I was like, there were other people out there doing this work, thinking the same ideas, and we're just now finding one another.
Yeah, it's amazing, truly amazing. So Shelley, what are some of the topics you'll cover in the movie?
Well, we spent a lot of time kind of drilling down, and there's so much to talk about when it comes to family recovery, but there are some things that, like some touch points that you can rely on to really shift that like mentality and to kind of create that culture change that we're looking for. And I don't know if you've read Beth Macy's book, Raising Lazarus, but she talks about in there the phenomenon of culture change. Really, the shift is not like 90% of the people have to change their mind. It's 25%. And if you can hit that 25%, which I think with the groups of us that are starting to come together, you can really you can shift a culture. And so some of the topics are around shifting the cultural conditioning and the stigma that has just like the inherent stigma that has come along with substance use, and talking about nervous system regulation and trauma responses, genetics and family system stages of change, and how one of us can be in one stage of change and one of us can be in another, but we can influence change with our ways of being. We're going to talk about harm reduction in ways that you can practice harm reduction inside of a family system. And that harm reduction that Pam's even speaking of, like being a kind of person who's not causing harm with your way of being or your words or your language or your communication styles. We're going to talk about the wisdom of experience and the value and power of peer engagement. You know, so many of your coaches are, I would say probably all of them are peers, and that lived experience makes a tremendous difference in helping families understand or helping other people understand pathways, or even coming alongside someone with a pathway. And then really to talk about this as a grassroots movement, and like Pam just said, but within those topics, there will be the way the topics will be presented is through storytelling. So we'll have the families telling their stories in putting that together in a relatable way, and then the experts will reinforce the ideas that and the topics that we're hoping to make sure we highlight. And so there'll be education, there'll be practices, there'll be communication and community building.
So the BALM is extremely solution focused, as you know, Kathy. How will this movie contribute to the solution rather than laying out the problem, as so many articles and programs do?
To kind of piggyback on what Shelley and Pam just said, I mean, we're all about, like, here, we see this as a gap in what has been provided to families. Like, there's not anything like this movie that's out there. You know, when we think about this film, we think about Pleasure Unwoven, you know, with Dr. Kevin McCauley and Memo to Self, which are kind of the go-tos for documentaries shown in treatment centers and, you know, to the clients and also to the family members. And we want this film to be the same type of impact. So when I think about like solution-based, I mean, you know, we're going to show that there are answers to this problem, you know, that we aren't just going to say, here's the problem, and we have no answers. And I think a lot of films have just done that for us, you know, like showing, you know, the person that's struggling with a substance use disorder, and they're showing, you know, how it's impacting the family. But at the end of the film, you just feel exhausted, you know, and we want the families to feel like empowered at the end of this movie. And then we are going to, on the back end of it, we're going to be very intentional on what sources and resources that we provide, you know, that are like-minded, you know, like the ITC and BALM, and, you know, the resources that we believe that are trusted resources to help families navigate this disease in a compassionate, safe way. So we're going to be very solution-based, just like the BALM is.
That's beautiful. And who are your subject matter experts?
So we're very excited. We just got Kevin McCauley. So Dr. Kevin McCauley is, I just think of him as, ooh.
Yeah.
And he could not be nicer. He is bending over backwards for us, and he really believes in what we're doing, and he's very excited about this project. And he said it's much needed and it's overdue. So we're excited to have him. And then, you know, he will be talking about the brain, and he's got some beautiful insight about family recovery. I mean, we've talked to him, and I was sad that we did not record that session that Jess and I had with him, because he was saying some amazing things. And then we have Jan Brown, who works for with CMC, and she's just nationally recognized as just an expert in this field. And she happens to live just right down the road from us, down in Williamsburg. I'm in Richmond, Virginia, so that's going to be an easy skip down and see her and get her insight. And I mean, she could speak about anything family recovery wise. She's just wonderful.
She even helped Sesame Street with the character Zoe, who is the character who has the parents with substance use disorder. So she advises, on that character. Yeah.
So yeah, she's
Carly, not Zoe, Carly. Sorry.
Get your characters straight,
Get
girl.
my Sesame Street right. Yeah.
And then we've got Dr. Danielle Dick, who we've actually interviewed on the BALM before, and she wrote the book Child Code, and she is brilliant. She's at Rutgers in their addiction studies program. She heads that up, and she is going to be talking about genetics and more information about that she'll pull from Child Code. And she's a young mom, and I think brings a lot of energy to this topic and passion. Nationally renowned speaker also. So those are our top three, and we might be adding one more. We're not sure, but we will be, trying to cover the trauma, pretty much any topic you can think of with regards to family recovery, between the families and, like Shelley said, the experts, to kind of piggyback on what you're hearing in the stories and really show that there's evidence, to show that family recovery is important. I know that on our website, we quote that a family member that, or families that engage in family recovery and their loved one is 2 times more likely to be in long-term recovery, because the family is doing the work. They're showing up differently, they're showing up to support recovery. So that's what we're hoping we can do for families.
Sounds like a star-studded group of experts. That's wonderful. And what about the families? Have you chosen them yet? How did you pick them? Where are they from? Or is that a surprise? Or you haven't chosen them yet?
Yes, you want to talk about that?
Yeah, sure. So we have 2 of the families selected and are kind of talking through the third right now. And what that really has come down to is just, I guess I'll start by saying, like, we've had a lot of conversations and we've heard a lot of like really inspiring stories. And what it's come down to is just how the 3 families' stories fit together to make a well-rounded narrative. So I think we've been really fortunate to have those conversations and to hear those stories. And our plan is really to have some time allotted at the end, maybe in like the credits or in some capacity, to have some just like blurbs of their stories and everything, of some of the families that we've talked to that won't be the primary focus of the documentary. And then we've also talked a lot about the website after that Kathy kind of mentioned earlier, right? Like having the resources there, kind of like directing people in places that might be appropriate for them. And with that, we've also talked about having some of these family stories that we've talked to kind of in video format in a section of the website as well. So, and one of the I don't know, am I allowed to say what families we're going with, Kathy? Or
You can tell one of them.
I would just tell one.
the Wren family.
Yeah.
The Wren family.
Yeah.
But we do not want it to be the Wren show. So
What is through the Shelley show? I'm just kidding. That was a joke.
So that was not the intent of this film. It's, but if we can, again, bring hope to families and, share our story, then that's a gift.
Yeah, you have a really, a story that must be told.
Yeah.
Important.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, okay. How will you distribute the film? Jess and Shelley.
Go ahead, Jess.
Yeah, I'll talk on more of kind of like the film production side, I think. So we'll do like the film festival route, and really just try and get it to some, like, I guess, some different audiences, maybe some audiences that might not see it otherwise. And then I'll leverage some connections with some streaming services and platforms to see what we can do there as well. And I'll hand it over to Shelley to talk about the rest.
And then we want to make sure that it gets seeded out in all the traditional ways that you might connect with treatment or recovery, like treatment centers or recovery community organizations, all the organizations that support families, and the national organizations that support families, but also to try to, use our grassroots network of parent to parent, spouse to spouse, friend to friend to get the word out and try to get it downstream or upstream, downstream, which stream way am I going? But where somebody might get it sooner than they would need to see it in a treatment program. So perhaps it's a counselor in a high school who has a kid that's showing some signs of distress, and they say to the parent, hey, have you seen this film? And we're reaching people sooner rather than later, before they actually get to the treatment process. Maybe we can mitigate some of the suffering and some of the harm that's done within the family system. So it will be national, grassroots, like on the ground and up in the air, but all the ways that we can share it, and at conferences and
Right.
the traditional ways that you.
We'll look forward to sharing it at a future BALM retreat.
Yes, yes.
That'll
And
be
that distribution too is something that will happen kind of later in the production process. So if you tap into our newsletter, we'll keep everyone updated along the way and on where they can watch it.
And will you put in the, will someone put in the chat, like, how do they get to your website? How do they get to your newsletter? All of that.
Sure.
That'd be great. And Pam, what are the big takeaways you're hoping that people will get as a result of watching this film?
I remember being told that there was nothing we could do, that we were powerless, that we had to let our loved one hit rock bottom. And I think the big takeaways are that there are things you can do. You are not powerless. That rock bottom is a myth that causes death, and that there's a path forward for you and for your loved ones. And I also think that there is this sort of idea that, and sometimes when I hear it, I have to caveat this because a lot of these coined phrases we know have some intention or deep meaning behind them. And I don't want to dismiss some of that deep meaning. I think some of the ideas have to be re-modernized, as Jess said. But I think that there's this sort of idea that everybody stays in their own lane and you always stay in your lane. Whereas in the idea of family recovery, we're these humans that have to interact and be in community with one another and be in relationship with one another, and that there are really healthy, positive ways that you can do that, where you can give people autonomy and give people agency and allow them efficacy in their lives and still stay connected. So, the other thing is we often think of recovery as just one pathway. And we're trying to show that recovery is self-defined. It's for everyone. There's not a one, way that everybody has to do it, but that you really do already probably have everything in you to know what feels right and what feels, like it will be relational, and where you'll kind of be back into your authenticity and who you really are. So I think that we really just, again, want people to walk away from this with real solutions, real hope, and that they do feel confident that they're not alone, that they can do this, that recovery is possible, and that they can be a part of the solution. As we talked about, this is very solutions oriented.
Beautiful. And Kathy, what actions would you like people to take after watching the movie? You're
You're
muted.
muted.
You're muted.
I keep muting so that you can't hear the birds singing. I'm sitting out in my she
We
shed.
like the
We like the
birds.
birds, right?
Sorry about that. So, I would say that the first action I would love for everybody to do is to go to our website and sign up for the newsletter. So that way you can follow us. And Shelley is our marketing person right now, and she is keeping everybody up to date through our newsletter on what's going on. As far as action afterwards, Jess touched on this, and that is that we are going to make sure that we build out what to do after you see the film. Where do I go for resources? Well, we're going to have resources on our website, and we will again have those trusted resources and maybe some even extended videos from some of our experts. So we're going to try to build out that platform as a resource. And then also we're going to try to create almost like a roadmap for how to start a family recovery kind of program within your community. So because Pam and I have done this, in our own communities, and we want to kind of create a roadmap for other people that are interested in that. I mean, I started a support group at my church, and it started there, and then it grew into other things. So we want to help kind of empower families that want to do something like that if they should feel that calling. But basically, we want to encourage families to turn towards their family and start having those compassionate conversations about what does family recovery look like. And we often say when we're meeting as a team, our production team, who am I being in the relationship and how am I showing up? And so we really want to foster that. And then we also want again to help the families get connected to local resources like family recovery peers or support groups for that modern approach of family recovery. So basically, we've said several times, we want this film to answer the question, what do I do? I've watched the film. Now, what do I do? And we want to have the answers for them, so they're not out there looking for them and Googling out into the universe. And
so you'll be
frustrated.
providing resources on the film, on the website, in the communities. That's gorgeous.
Yes.
Beautiful. Wow. This is amazing. You guys are amazing, and your project is going to change countless lives. And we're really grateful that you came here first to tell the community about it. Guys, it has been so amazing to have the opportunity to speak with you tonight. I'm really honored that you came on our program, and really excited to see this film and get it into everybody's hands. It's just going to be so important. And I thank you again for being willing to come, and thank everybody here who came tonight.
Well, thank you for giving us our first interview, and thank everyone for coming tonight and encouraging us along the way. Some of you gave me some teary eyes, so you've reignited my enthusiasm for it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Bev.
You're welcome. Thank you, Pam. And you know, I put information on the BALM in here. If you guys want to put something in the chat, if people want to contact you about your programs, please feel free, put it in there so that, you know, people can find what they need.
I appreciate that.
Okay. Well,
I did put the
the
our
Family
documentary
Recovery
website.
documentary.
Yeah.
And you can put thrivefrr.org. And the BALM's in there, and
Make sure you sign up for our newsletter.
Yes.
yes, we will.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you again,
you.
everybody. And remember, everybody, be a loving mirror. Good night, everyone. Thank you.